the operator's taking a more proactive approach. Nowadays, the systems are able to raise the events and the alarms and send them somewhere. So operators themselves can check proactive suspicious reports.
Okay, well, welcome everybody to episode 2 of the Smart Storage Talk. This is going to be a series of chats we have with industry professionals and people that we like to work with and we believe have a certain product or a service that can be brought to the market of useful to the whole industry. And we've kindly managed to get hold of Ant Hebblethwaite, who's the sales director of DSOC based in Doncaster. So Ant, tell us about yourself, tell us about a little bit about DSOC and how you decided to join in with this wonderful business of self-storage.
Yeah, I think everybody's got a self-storage story, haven't they, how they got into it? I think firstly, it's nice for somebody to be able to pronounce my surname.
A good old Yorkshire. It's a God's country name, isn't it?
It is. It's Hebblethwaite and then it's Doncaster, and you know both. So, so my role at DSOC has changed a little bit over the time that I've been at DSOC. So I'll start by describing what DSOC is really. So DSOC is what's on this wonderful image behind me. It's a control room. So we have operators, human operators in that control room, and they are receiving all kinds of different events and alarms from lots of different systems. Yeah, so relevant to self-storage, DSOC monitors intruder alarms, fire alarms, access control alarms, obviously relevant to Sensorberg, we can receive their events, and CCTV systems. So now we're at a stage where in the 6 years that we've been open, we've gone from monitoring a handful of self-storage sites back in 2020 to now, 6 years on, over 900 across the UK and Europe. And my role at DSOC has kind of evolved from initially being technical and helping installers to integrate them systems to DSOC, to now it's evolved into a fully fledged sales role and leading all of the sales and marketing at DSOC. And self-storage, I think like most people, you kind of happen into it a little bit by accident, a little bit by design. It was a market that we saw the opportunity for remote monitoring, but also could never have kind of envisaged how now ingrained and involved we are. But it's wonderful.
Yeah, I understand one of your colleagues is also a former police officer, so no doubt he had a direct input to this kind of setup of the business.
Yeah, it works really well. So obviously I'm responsible for the kind of technical sales marketing at DSOC with my background being an engineer. But our managing director, Rob Dovey, Rob was a sergeant in the police force, West Yorkshire Police, and bringing them skills over into this sector and to DSOC as a business obviously is a whole heap of the reason that we've been successful. Crime prevention, and then also being proactive in kind of getting in front of that crime.
So you mentioned an impressive number of sites which you're now monitoring. How does that split between UK and European mainland at the moment?
So obviously dominantly is the other UK sites. We've only recently started with the European sites really. Our first touch point was to get the licensing so that we could monitor sites in the Republic of Ireland, which we now have, so we're able to do that. And then also we looked strategically in mainland Europe as to which countries, which markets would most likely benefit from our services more immediately. And the first one that we looked at was the German market. We could see that obviously the growth is a large element of that, and unfortunately with that growth does come growing crime patterns and crime behaviours. And I know a lot of the operators in Germany are kind of marking their security provision against what a lot of the UK leading operators have done.
Yeah.
So probably probably around 50 sites Europe at the minute. So obviously the bulk 850 UK, 50 Europe, with a bit of a pipeline of 150 to 200 in the next probably 12 to 18 months.
Okay, I mean, I see this personally as a fantastic service that you're offering. I'm not aware of anything in the German mainland from my 16 years experience in this business to sort of you compare with what you're doing. So I wish you every success in that. And if we at Sensorberg and me personally can help you with that, then absolutely delighted to help. So let's dig into a couple of specific questions regarding security and the like. How do you think security in self-storage has been changing over the last few years?
I think that the first change was the same change that most other sectors experienced, which is regarding the technology and the hardware. The change from analog systems to a lot of digital IP systems, and what comes with that is obviously that kind of elevated ability of processing data and information on site and in the cloud. So obviously that, but I think specifically to self-storage would be the operators taking a more proactive approach, less of a mentality of check the logs the day after. I think previously, and I'm not saying this was wrong, this is the way that they could achieve that previously, is to check the CCTV recorders the next morning, check the access control logs the next morning, see what's happened as unusual behaviour and form an investigation. Whereas nowadays, and this is it's good for us because we can receive these events and this information. Nowadays, the systems are able to raise the events and the alarms and send them somewhere. So operators themselves can check proactive suspicious reports on their access control logs. They can check CCTV detection events on their phones, their laptops, and DSOC can receive all of the above, depending upon the level of integrations with the different systems. But I'd say overall, yes, the biggest change has certainly been from moving from reactive to proactive.
Okay, I mean, you're absolutely right. I agree 100%. I think in the older days, shall we say, of self-storage, it was very much a case of, yeah, we're not too bothered about the security because it's not on the radar of the criminal fraternity. But now it has been becoming like that, and really, it was a very reactive approach, wasn't it? People, if they found a door had been open, even then, would they only look at the CCTV coverage to find out. But of course, if that's happened at 2 o'clock in the morning, what are you going to do? How are you going to react to that? You can't do that. So what you're offering obviously is something like a real-time thing, isn't it? That things can be dealt with as and when.
Yeah, exactly that. And I've got to say, I'm not just saying this because it's on this and it's representing an access control product, but I've worked in a lot of sectors in my career as an engineer and now moving into sales. And I think sometimes self-storage, because it wants to be so much better and it's pushing to combat the crime, sometimes it perhaps doesn't acknowledge how much more it does than some other sectors. And some of the access control capabilities now with the events that someone like DSOC can receive, and by events I mean, like, obviously, like you've just hit the nail on the head, a individual door being opened when it shouldn't be. Well, straight away, that's more than we get from most retail clients. And then you kind of layer that with us being able to then check the camera relevant to the door. That's another layer. Us then being able to check the access control logs via an integration, another layer. So self-storage we see these days does a heck of a lot in comparison to other sectors, and it's good to see.
Okay. And what specific security measures are in place to actually prevent unauthorized access and theft then?
Well, I think it starts with what you guys do. I think it starts with the hardware and the on-site solutions. Things such as having multi-factor authentication. If you're only relying on one form of authentication, perhaps consider another. Having two at a very basic level, and I think this should be pushed more and more because I think there are so many options now that sometimes you can overlook the simplest solution. And the simplest solution for me is have the doors alarmed, have unit alarms, we call them. That gives us so much more information of a unit being opened when it shouldn't be. We can be aware of it being a vacant unit or an occupied unit. We can receive them unit alarms on scheduled hours or during hours if it's unmanned. Just so straight away that the on-site hardware being at a higher level than most other sectors that I see, the data that you can get from that. And then secondly, the CCTV. The CCTV sitting there and recording is a thing of the past. These cameras are viewing that scene and analysing that scene. And so we hear a lot these days of AI. And I understand why about AI. Sometimes I avoid it because of the buzzwordism of it. But in our world of CCTV, it's a bona fide, tried and tested practice called video analytics. And then cameras are assessing that scene all of the time, and they're determining a person, a vehicle, someone moving into a certain area when they shouldn't. And then over at our side at DSOC, we have something called suspicious activity AI. We use it, imagine a filter. So imagine a CCTV camera creating an event because it's seen that there is a person or a vehicle on site. That event is then configured to send to DSOC towards DSOC's servers and towards DSOC's room. And then we use an AI filter on our side to just do a little bit more clever things. So the first thing we use our suspicious activity AI for is face covering. So if a person on foot with their face covered, the second filter that we've used it for is if a person enters the site through the main gate or the sliding gate on foot without a vehicle. They are two quite simple uses of AI, but they're really, really efficient because they are unusual behaviors on a self-storage site.
Yeah.
So what we're looking to do with that is just keep developing it further. As soon as there's another unusual set of behaviors, another pattern, develop that, push it through the CCTV AI, and hopefully keep ahead of these dodgy folk. But I think another measure that's important to touch on regarding protecting these sites is, particularly for the manned stores, the stores with staff, there's a lot of vigilance there. If the guys in store, the staff are informed, keep in touch of what's going on in the industry, are well drilled by perhaps their area managers, their ops managers, facilities managers, they are the operators that we see stand out, really. The ones where the staff are on a level with us and with their suppliers, where they're really understanding what they can do to actually get ahead of crime as opposed to just react. So yeah, I always go systems, access control, CCTV, intruder alarms, fire alarms are quite standard and easy to understand. And then I make sure I always include staff vigilance, shared understanding.
So you think what we're doing in the industry with with regards to our access control systems is a positive and will continue to grow in the industry?
Yeah, 100%. I think something that we really like working with Sensorberg is the speed at which we can look at the developments. The integration that we've done to receive the events from your systems was done quite quickly. And then also we get that same feeling about any new innovations. The suppliers that are the easiest to work with are the ones that are most keen to develop, and Sensorberg is certainly one of them.
Okay, that's good to hear. As a kind of a newbie to Sensorberg, that's nice to hear that my decision has been a correct one when how I judge the company and what its future potential is. What about sort of handling the actual security incidents, breaks in, vandalism? How are they detected and reported?
So by most of the measures I've already explained, CCTV detection, access control, anomalies, reasons that our staff become suspicious of a person's behaviour on site, our operators are trained to handle them alarms and take them on a suspicion scale. So when they initially receive an event, that would be on this scale, they would be suspicious of that situation and that person. But we want them to be able to take that, handling that alarm as almost an investigation from suspicion to belief. And if they arrive anywhere near the belief of a crime being committed, that's when we need the escalation. That's when we'll need guard response to site, key holder contact, and ultimately, if there's full belief of a crime being committed, police attendance, which I guess is the end chain of the incidents. And to give an idea on numbers, at the minute we're anywhere between 400 and 500 incidents per month. Incidents are any of the alarms where we've had to escalate to a guard response, a key holder response, or police. Now, of them 400 to 500, let's call it 450, of them 450 incidents per month, averagely we would police escalate around 10%.
Right.
So you're probably looking ballpark 40, 45 policeable incidents per month at the minute within self-storage, which, again, if it's framed a certain way, could be a little bit scaremongery perhaps, but we choose to look at the size of the kind of estate coverage that we have of 900 plus now and see that 40 to 45 incidents are policed. It's quite a low number, really, across all of them sites. You're thinking all the customer touch points, all them stores that have out of hours access, where there's that grey area of, is that a customer acting unusually or is that somebody committing a crime? For our team to manage the literal hundreds of thousands of events that they're handling and to escalate to, let's say, 45 police incidents per month is quite remarkable, and also not that scary either. So I think it kind of covers both angles of the sector is doing a lot and thankfully we're preventing a lot.
Okay. So talking about sort of, let's call it out of hour access or 24/7 access, whatever you want to, however you want to describe that. Do you think that storage operators can actually monetize these additional security services, if you like, getting a little bit of money back for the time, effort, and money that they're spending in being able to offer such a secure overview of what's happening at the facility?
I think that's a brilliant question, and that's one that I get asked quite a lot these days. Obviously, since the full step into the sales role, it's you need to justify these moves. You need to have them proposals in place, and part of that naturally is going to be, where's the return? With my engineer hat on, I will always say the return's preventing people breaking into your site, and that's where it starts. But you're right. But again, the other side of that is obviously there's the brand reputation. There's the protecting of customers' goods. There's everything that you have built your business to be. This is helping to protect that. So there's that. There's the out, and then when we go into the out of hours question around 24 hours access, yes, I think that should be upsold. The operators that I see do that well do upsell that. That is a yes, you can have out of hours access, but for higher cost. And then the security measures are part of that sale, let's say that to their customer, to their storer, is yes, okay, you could store with so and so down the road and there is out of hours access and there are some cameras that record, but they're not proactively monitored, they're not looked after by somebody who understands the industry. You can pay this little bit extra to store with us. It's proactively monitored, it's looked at out of hours, any anomalies are flagged. You've got the protection of when you're on site on your own, you're not truly on your own because that site's being surveilled. So yeah, we do help a lot of operators to sell that at a premium, and it helps them because if someone's willing to pay for the out of hours access at a premium, it's less likely they're up to no good. It's not guaranteed they're not up to no good, but it's less likely because what they're after, these criminals, they want the least resistance of entry. They want the easiest operators to hit, the easiest sites to hit.
Absolutely.
Any kind of hurdle of resistance is a good one.
Yeah. I mean, I always used to tell, because I was in the petitioning game for quite some time before, and then also with security. But I always used to tell my potential clients, don't just think that 24/7 is something that you should be offering everybody. They should need to justify why they need to have access at 2 o'clock in the morning. A, it's harder to manage. B, who are they? What I mean, if you're I always use the example of if you're a wedding DJ or a nightclub DJ that is storing your decks and stuff in a secure place, obviously there is a lot of capital value in there that needs to be looked after. So that is a specific requirement that they have, and if they're trustworthy, then they should be prepared to accept that there's a cost involved in that. So that's always been my sort of take on it. So I'm pleased that as an expert in this field, you share that view too.
Yeah, entirely. And that example's a cracking example. We see exactly that. We've got some sites where we know that entertainment, DJs, music production, that type of thing, we know that they need that. And it's always good to share that information as well. Obviously, we're in the right way. We're conscious of we don't need to know, your customers' names, your customers' information, your customers' details. We absolutely never have received that and never will. But little bits of information like on that 24-hour sites, we only have 4 out of hours access. Customers who are regular, for example, they often access floor 1, floor 2, back corner, floor 3. They have 3 units, they have 2 units, just so that them behaviours out of hours on your site are known to us, so that if we are monitoring that site out of hours for CCTV or access control, our people in the chair, as opposed to, I think sometimes you can get caught up in the systems do all of the work, and it's the systems pushes the events and we can review the logs, but the people in the chair are the ones that assess that and make an informed decision. So knowing that behaviours on site of your customers, if you do have out of hours access, is an important factor for our guys, and create that link. Because that's something I've not really touched on actually, and I probably should, sorry, and to go off on a bit of a tangent, but
no, that's fine.
we use speakers quite a lot as well, like public address systems.
Okay.
Now, obviously, there's
step away from the building.
Yeah, exactly that. I think the first justification for them being installed in the first place is for exactly what you just did, is to warn away criminals. But customers out of hours, and I thought of this myself as if I was an actual storage customer. If you were to get a customer service type speaker message, so say you often do attend that site out of hours, 11 p.m. at night, let's say. You go up onto floor 1, you're off to your unit. But for whatever reasons, let's say you're on the phone and you start to do a lap of the self-storage place because you walk in on the phone. We all do it. And one of our guys receives that CCTV trigger or that event to say, someone's on that site out of hours and they've gone where they don't normally go. If I was that person, I'd sooner rather hear a speaker message saying, can the customer on site please go to their unit just to confirm that they indeed are a customer of this site? Or could they go back to the access control touch point just to enter their credentials again, please? Just to confirm why they're there. If I was there, that would reassure me that if someone up to no good entered that site at the same time as me out of hours, that someone like us would pick up on that. So speakers are a big part of that.
It's almost like an Orwellian type 1984 situation, that the old Big Brother is watching you type things. But as the criminal fraternity gets more and more emboldened by being able to get into get into facilities and to find out what's actually being stored in there, I think it's just a natural progression that we kind of regress to what Orwell wrote about in 1948. But there we are. As regards working with CCTV surveillance and smart access, which we offer, how do you think they can work together in order to provide optimum security? I know we've touched on it in a couple of things, but just to basically bullet points, for the want of a better expression.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I think I can go into the tangent of external storage a little bit here as well. The access control and the CCTV systems being integrated and working with a remote monitoring supplier like us is integral. It's the whole reason that we've been able to provide the proactive monitoring service. Either of them in isolation doesn't provide you the full picture. A CCTV activation on a site of any description out of hours without any access control data is just a human in our control room assessing a video clip or a live streamed camera. That's all that is. It's not a problem. That is a service. But then being able to add a little bit more story to that picture, a bit more of checking access control logs. When did they enter the site? Or they've been on the site for over an hour now. Which units have they gone to? And then in an internal facility, again, I refer back to my earlier point of having unit alarms being the kind of superpower. If you've got the unit alarms, we know if they've indeed gone to their door. If they've not gone to their door, but they're still on the site, what are they doing? So without the two, if we just had that as a CCTV trigger, it's just a person on a self-storage site, which again, we do manage. We have some sites where that's all we have. But then customers are always explained and understand that that's just one layer. So having the access control suppliers like yourselves being really keen to integrate their different anomalies, the suspicious events, the door events and giving us access to their systems via a portal, via a web link, webhook, whatever that is. It's absolutely vital to what we've been able to bring together for self-storage. So yeah, them two systems working hand in hand, access control, CCTV, is definitely key in this sector.
I mean, to me, to be honest with you, having listened to all of that with great intent, and I think that it sounds like the industry's in pretty safe hands, both with what you're offering and what we're offering together. So I appreciate, Ant, your comments on that. I think that's going to be very interesting for the vast majority of the listeners. So yeah, I mean, just before we sign off, then, I've done all the question asking. Is there anything you'd like to throw back at me?
Yeah, well, I was thinking about this because I was thinking we've just ventured into obviously European market, and we've now got live sites in Germany, and that obviously brings with it challenges and opportunities. And I've now venturing in myself, experience-wise, is quite high in the UK market, and I'm dealing with the Europeans now, and it's fantastic. I've met a lot of them at Fidessa. But yeah, you've been working it a lot longer than I have, and I'd be intrigued to kind of know. It's kind of two-pronged, really, and I don't want to confuse it for you. Firstly, is there anything the European operators are doing that you think the UK operators would benefit from? Vice versa. I'll leave it at that as a first question and not confuse the two.
So what the UK can learn from European operators, that's probably more something that I'm easy to handle, because I never really tended to look after the UK a great deal, but I can throw that from the one perspective. I think generally European operators are a little bit behind what's happening in the UK. The life scale of this product, starting off in the States, it then came over to mainland Europe. It also started in Australasia. But I think certainly in Germany, the first self-storage site was opened in about 2000. So it's really only 25 years old, where it's probably at least another 15 to 20 years older in the UK. But so they're starting off a little bit on the back foot, and very much they're embracing more and more automation. It's basically not just a nice to have anymore, particularly in the Nordics, Benelux, and also increasingly more in Germany. They're kind of running more highly automated sites. It's an app-based control system, digital onboarding, ID checks, either very few or almost no on-site staff. So in the UK, I suppose automation needs to be put in under the guise of customer convenience and margin protection, not just cost cutting. Sureguard in the UK have proven customers accept and actually do prefer this kind of model. I think it's a size thing. Isn't everything?
Yeah.
They tend to concentrate really, and there are exceptions, of course there are exceptions, but generally speaking, on smaller, more flexible urban formats. Let's say the bigger cities in Europe, whether it's a Munich or a Berlin or a Hamburg or wherever, or a Zurich or wherever, they restrict the big footprints. So operators need to look at it slightly differently. They go for very, very small units, almost micro units of 1 to 2 square meters. So 10 to 20 square feet, to use British parlance. And that in places like basements, car parks, even mixed use conversions, so that they aren't putting all their eggs into one basket. Yeah. And also they're looking to design modular layouts that potentially can be recut quickly into different unit size. So the UK takeaway, I suppose, from that is that instead of just defaulting to the big yellow model, there are other large operators available in the UK. They can unlock this dense urban demand. They can potentially improve the yield per square foot. And that kind of thing, and then help with the planning problems. I suppose if you have more of an impetus onto the strength of localization, then it becomes less of the corporate sameness
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that you just said. Really, we've a lot less experience. We've only just ventured into the European market, but the operators that we're currently supporting. So, our first customer in Germany, Finn Kausch, Space for You, and he's got Harvard
Yeah,
Mock
no
as well.
fun. Mm.
Very proactive, very open-minded. I think, and that's it's refreshing. Yes, obviously, like you rightly said, the European market is behind the UK market in some ways, but I think in other ways there's an advantage to that. I think that open-mindedness to automation, innovation, change, new models, and selfishly from a security perspective, the technology available now is streets ahead of when these UK guys opened their stores a long, long time ago. So the newer stores that are opening in mainland Europe that I'm seeing are often a bit ahead in terms of they're willing to take a leap of faith on some of the tech and the innovations,
Yeah.
and that's how we're seeing it play out. So
I,
yeah,
I think, yeah, it's more about market differentiation. How can you do things differently? You know, you could want to get away from this sort of corporate branding. You know, use multilingual signage and staff. Partner with nearby SMEs and trades to see what you can do with that. But even in the UK, I seriously believe national operators can, you know, adjust their tone and the offer without necessarily diluting the brand.
no, and again, we're seeing that as well with the national operator that we've started with in mainland being My Place. That My Place's approach to it is very similar to, for example, we monitor the Big Yellow self-storage sites as well, and Storage King and Flexis, and it's that mindset of you're right. It's we do it this way, but in certain aspects, open to the fact that technology now allows us to do something slightly differently.
Yeah.
Automation allows us to do this. But I must admit, the one thing I do like with the Nationals, in a sense, is I do like the staff side of it. I
Hmm.
like the people piece, as in their staff. I like
Yeah.
how much they're kind of supported, trained, invested in a career, and that's a differential that I see with the national operators versus the
Mhm.
smallers. But yeah,
Mhm.
no,
Yeah, and then there is also a couple of other things maybe that they do in Europe. They kind of try to be a little bit more transparent with their pricing, avoiding the extreme teaser rates that we have generally in the UK. Um, Certainly in Germany, France, Spain, B2B storage is treated as a core segment. So it's something that trades can be really their primary customers, and vast majority will include invoice-friendly systems and stuff like that. In the UK, I don't know if you agree, but I've always understood that B2B is more of an add-on, to be honest with you.
yeah.
Um,
They use it as a bit of a differential, don't they? Some of the
yeah,
operators that offer it, it's what sets
yeah.
them apart. Let's say.
And basically, in a nutshell, yeah, that's what sort of what I see as being the main differences that Europe has that the UK doesn't.
Obviously, and for me, this is less of a problem for you, but for me, the language differences.
Yeah, there can be that. I mean, we often like to think as Brits that you know them over there they'll understand anyway. They all speak English. Yes, they do, and particularly the Scandinavians. I've never had an issue with the Scandinavians, but you know even Germans and particularly the French. I have to say, you know, if you're going to have a business conversation, then you like to divert to your native tongue.
Yeah,
And you know,
agreed.
as a German speaker, it's always been an advantage that I felt that I have been able to and can still bring to the party now.
Absolutely, we witnessed that. We had a good chat, didn't we, at the German event in Hanover,
Indeed.
and I know that when someone engages you for business, they're okay to deal in English if they speak it well enough. But yes, so I know that a lot of the European operators speak to at the minute, they do kind of reiterate to me that speaking English is no problem for them, but sometimes just out of sheer manners and politeness, I do want to, and it is something there. I've an itch to scratch, particularly German, with the amount of work that we're winning there, and witnessing yourself being able to switch between the two when we were at the conference is highly impressive.
Yeah, absolutely happy to help in any way I can. I believe that what you're offering is a definite advantage for the industry. So if I can help you with that from my position at Sensorberg, or just because of my few years experience in the market, then I'm happy to try to help you with that. Absolutely, sure. I'm all for partnerships and bringing those kind of things together to make it easier for the end user, basically, to find a pallet of goods in one or only two locations.
Yeah, and as you know, there's like I referred to at the start with my surname, there's translating English and then there's translating Yorkshire.
Yeah. It's just the way it goes. But yeah. So ultimately, I mean, that's where we are in this industry today, I suppose. So I think there's a lot happening out there. There's a lot for both of us to go at now. As I said before, I think what you're offering at DSOC is fundamental now to the safety and security game. And it's obviously our wish at Sensorberg that we can help you in any way possible that we can.
No, thank you for having me on this as well, because I think this is another key part of the progression in the sector, is suppliers collaborating, sharing ideas, discussing what's going on in the market, particularly now for us at DSOC as we venture into the European market as well. So much appreciated, Ian. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been great talking to you. And all I can do is at some point, I'd really like to come up to the actual centre and have a look at it myself. That'd be great. Thank you for that. And I'd wish you every further success. And yeah, I'd welcome any possible cooperation that we can do in the future.
Thank you very much. And you're more than welcome to anything.
Thanks, Ant. Have a great day now. Thanks.
See you later. Thank you. Bye-bye.